Good morning and welcome to Good Fruit Garden. I am Miriam. So I have not made it back into my garden area yet. I am right here at my fire pit because I went to the hardware store and picked up vinca flowers, which do really good in the summer heat out here in Arizona. They can stay out in the direct sun all day and not have damage to the petals. So this is my go-to flower if you're looking for a really heat tolerant flower. They have these in all different types of colors. This is the first time I've seen this like burgundy and reddish purplish mix. So I thought it was really pretty. So I am going to pot it in this pot here that is in front of my fire pit area. So I have some flowers in these pots and some different succulents right out front. And then I also did pick up a banana pepper plant because they're my son's favorite, and I'm gonna surprise him when he wakes up this morning with it. So the only thing is I have to find the room in my garden where I can actually put this. I might have to go get a pot and just keep it potted because I don't think I have any room in my beds. But when I saw it, I really wanted to get it because my son really loves banana peppers. So I also have more bird issues. So I'm gonna take you guys back after I get these potted and show you what's been going on with the birdies. So I'm just going to begin with the issues with the birds. As you can see, these cucumber plants here that I left in the ground are doing great. The leaves are getting big. They are about 4 to 5 inches tall, and they did awesome. But the ones that I took out of the ground that were smaller and kind of growing right next to the other big ones, I potted them so that I can grow them up a little bit more and give them away. Well, birds came in and snapped off the 2 leaves on this little guy. And again, just left them there. And then on this one, this plant was pulled almost completely out of the soil. I nestled it back in there, hoping that it didn't disturb the root system too much, and put a little bit more soil on top of it. So hopefully it will continue to grow. They did the same thing with this one here, almost pulling it completely out of the soil. So I did the same thing to the other one. So what I've done is just put my barrier back up again, and I'm going to keep it here until they are at least, I don't know, maybe 4 to 5 inches tall. I thought they were already big enough. I just removed my metal barrier 2 days ago, so it took them no time to come back and wreak havoc on the little cucumber seedlings, but I'm just going to leave them covered until they get a lot bigger this time. Okay, so enough bad news. Let's go ahead and move on to the good stuff. So this is my zucchini plant, and it is doing so awesome. It just exploded in the last week. The leaves are ginormous. So just to give you guys a point of reference, this leaf is so much larger than my hand. And you guys, I am 5'9". I'm a tall woman. I have really long fingers and a larger hand for a woman. And this leaf just dwarfs my hand. It is actually larger than my face. This is one of those cases where I get just as much enjoyment out of the beauty of what I'm growing as well as eating it. And I'm really excited because it is beginning to bud. So I've got some female flowers as well as male flowers on this one. You can see where I'm pointing here. This is the ovary of the female flower. This is what is actually going to end up growing into the actual zucchini. And I've got a mixture of both flowers in this plant, whereas the last time when I grew these, I didn't produce any female flowers on it before it died. It was just the male flowers. So I was kind of shocked when I saw both of them coming in at the same time, but I'm super excited about it. I'm hoping that these little buds bloom pretty soon so I can start hand pollinating them and yielding a zucchini harvest. Okay, so moving right along, these are my Sicilian cherry tomato plants that I planted from seed the middle of January. They've been in the ground now for 5 weeks and they have quadrupled in size since I planted them in the beds. And just FYI, I list the garden week in the title so you can get a point of reference from week to week how quickly or slowly the plants are growing. As you can see on both of these tomato plants, I do need to cut off these lower branches so that I can lift the canopy further away from the ground. Okra seems to be my nemesis in the garden. I have attempted to grow it every single season for the past 2 years without success. The ladies that I know that have grown it, their okra took off really fast and produced within months. And one of my okra plants is already 3 months old and it still looks like a fresh little baby seedling. So I'm really hoping for a different outcome this season and that I will actually be able to harvest some okra. My little bell pepper seedling that took a full month to germinate is still hanging in there and starting to produce its first set of real leaves. This is one of the ones that survived the transplant that is definitely starting to bush out. And my larger bell pepper plant that I transplanted into this bed the beginning of this spring season is finally starting to thicken up a little bit. I still just have this one little bell pepper coming in on it. And the good thing though is I did see a few little buds that are starting to come in on the top of this. So hopefully I'll be able to produce some more fruit on this one pretty soon. So my spinach is doing really well. The leaves are definitely starting to get thicker and bigger really quickly. I'm really excited about that. The great oak lettuce that I planted right next to the spinach, I just reseeded again 2 weeks ago. So they're still little tiny babies, but they're coming in really well. And more importantly, the birds are leaving them alone, thank God. And this is the plant that I transplanted about 5 weeks ago back here in the garden. And it is already so tall. This plant is about 2 feet tall when it started off about 6 inches tall just 5 weeks ago. So it is going to be the size of my other tomato plants in no time. So Big Daddy is still doing awesome. Uh, the tomatoes I notice are starting to stay green a little bit longer since our weather has cooled down, and which is allowing the tomato itself to get a lot bigger. For a couple of weeks there, the size of my tomatoes were really getting a little bit smaller because we had a little bit of a unexpected heat wave, but we're back down into like the low 90s, so it has helped the tomatoes grow to a better size and before they start to turn red and ripen. So I have pulled out half of the kale heads that I had out here and have either eaten them and I gave two away. um, I am still pulling off of these and just pulling off what I need at a time. Even though they have flowered, most people tell me that they get really bitter after they flower and they don't taste good. But I actually haven't noticed a change at all in the taste of my leaf since it flowers. So I'm leaving them and I just continue to pull off of them as I need them like usual. So here is a huge lesson learned for me in the garden. I accidentally left my water hose on a couple of weeks ago when I was watering my peas. It ended up turning the plant completely yellow because it was overwatered. Well, for the following week, I tried to just scale the water back so that the soil would not be oversaturated. Turns out, bad idea with peas. They still should have gotten like a consistent flow of water because then all the leaves just ended up drying out and cracking. So once I started watering it good again, you can actually see this green area that is starting to come back with me just giving it the normal amount of water that I was doing before. So I'm hoping that this will completely recover. I do see some good signs of life, so I'm really excited about that. But hopefully this might help some of you watching, if you've had the same issues, to learn from my mistakes. So on the back part of this same bed, I have the Brussels sprout plant that is growing that did offer itself up. It is growing. The leaves are getting bigger on it and it's looking really good. This is my green bean plant, these three here. And I'm really not sure what's going on with these things. They usually grow little tendrils that wrap themselves up things. And I noticed the tendrils fell off and I don't see any new ones growing on it. So it's a mystery to me at this point. So I'm just going to leave them and see how it goes. The cilantro in my herb bed is starting to thicken up a bit, and I must have dropped some carrot seeds because these two in the back are actually carrots. So I'm just going to leave them and let them come in and see what happens. And these off to the right, these little seedlings, these are my basil seeds that I seeded 2 weeks ago, have finally come in and sprouted. So I'm hoping for a really good harvest because we eat a ton of basil in this house. This is where I will probably end up planting that peppercini. I did remove some of the cilantro plants that I had here so that I can go ahead and plant that banana pepper plant. And my onions are still doing really good, and these things are so bold in flavor. They just are so delicious and awesome. And I contend with this mint plant daily to keep it from spreading across this entire herb bed. And here is that banana pepper plant that I planted next to the onions. So all my work is done for the day. I am spent. I just walked 3 miles, came out straight away to the garden. I have not even had breakfast yet, so I am starving. I am going to wrap this up. So I will see you next week for another garden tour and show you guys how things are coming along. I am hoping by then my peas will have completely come back, or at least most of the way. And I am also hoping that my zucchini has flowered. So we shall see. But until I see you again, may your life and your garden produce good fruit. Bye.